Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to Mark Hayward.
In 1992, I was performing with the Gemini Jugglers, and this is the full group. But in this particular story, I was just performing with the Midwest Division. So that's me on the right, my buddy Matt on the left. Matt and I went out to do some street performing at the Willie Street Fair, which is on the gentle, tolerant, hippie side of Madison, Wisconsin. And when you go out to do a street show, the first thing you have to do is pick your performance spot. So we started the finale. Matt did his part, no problem. He juggled the 3 torches on the rollabola. He handed them to me. I lost my balance and I lost control of the torches. It was like an explosion of flames towards the children seated at my feet. One torch hit my shirt, lighting it on fire. The next one landed between terrified, scattering children. And the third one arced and flipped through the air as if in slow motion until, thwack, it landed in the spokes of a kid's bike lying on the ground. Everyone looked at that torch for just a second and watched the flames licking up around the spokes, and then the entire audience fled. It turns out that even gentle, tolerant hippie folk are afraid of death by juggler. Matt and I did manage to finish the show, and we passed the hat, and our grand take for that show, 38 cents, an apple, and a condom. Yes. It was as if the audience was telling us, you're terrible, you're too skinny, don't reproduce. Yeah.
I learned a lot of important things that day. And the first one is I learned that there's no better way to learn a lesson and to remember it than an embarrassing failure. I also learned that I am responsible to ensure the conditions that will lead to my own success. So you may be wondering, what's my biggest success? I got to go on The Late Show with David Letterman. Twice. I want to focus in a little bit and talk to you about how failure leads to success. There are a lot of different components to this, and there are several tools that I have found over the years that I use to help me turn failures into successes. Experience is the stepping stone to wisdom, and it's the only way you can get there. And wisdom, my wisdom is what helps me with informed risk-taking. Sometimes you have to have a little wisdom in order to understand which risks are worth taking and which ones are better to just let pass by.
If a strung out guy calls me at 3 in the morning wanting me to do a show right now, maybe I don't need that gig. Maybe I've already done that gig and I'm not going to do it again. But the most important thing that I need is I need commitment, because the last step of the process, of course, is success, and I've got to stay with my eyes on the prize in order to get to that goal. And in this context, I don't really like the term win. I mean, it works a lot of the times, but for here, I don't really like it just because it implies an end. And I feel like success is not a one-way street with an end point, but rather it's a continuous and changing journey.
The final tool that I use for turning failure into success is a positive attitude. I surround myself with people who have a positive attitude, and when I mess up in front of my friends, the most common thing that I hear is, dude, that was awesome. I picked a drunken tough guy as a volunteer at a street show one time, and then I hit him in the face with a yo-yo. My friends thought that was fantastic. Yeah. I want to show you guys a formula that's important in my life. And as a professional juggler and yo-yo man, formulas don't come into my work all that often. But this is a good one. Tragedy plus time equals comedy. This is attributed to Steve Allen. He was the original host of The Tonight Show back in the day before they even called it that. And my favorite people in the world are really good at compressing the time component of this formula. Let's get to that comedy right away. Sometimes it's still not funny for me yet. And one of my favorite aspects of a positive attitude is the ability to embrace serendipity. This can be incredible. Just because something didn't go the way you thought it would does not mean that it's a failure. At my very first paid gig ever, it didn't occur to me in advance that when you're juggling eggs, it's boring if they don't break. Good thing I screwed that up. If you do procrastinate, what's the cure? Just get started. Maybe there's 1,300 people waiting on the other side of that curtain, but you gotta get started, you gotta get going. The cure, of course, is fail more. Do it faster, you get used to it. Apparently, men and women are different in this arena. There's a really interesting book out right now called The Confidence Code by Caddy Kay and Claire Shipman. And in that book, they talk about how women are more likely to ruminate on their mistakes. You gotta let it go. Don't dwell on your mistakes. Use that energy to get out there and make more mistakes. Because it gets easier, and there are a lot of awesome mistakes out there just waiting to be made. I have a lot of teachers in my family, and several of them have told me the same story about different students, where they'll have a straight-A student and the teacher will have given them their first B. And after the fact, the student will come back and thank the teacher for that B because it freed them from the shackles of perfection. I never had that problem. I feel like I'd be angry about it, but who am I to debate the teachers? One of the things that I do as a yo-yo man and a juggler is I tend to come up with unusual uses for everyday objects. And for years, I figured that a regular household mousetrap had immense unused potential. And as you just saw, I figured out a way to use one in my show. So I have here a regular household mousetrap, and I also have a bag of jet puffed marshmallows. And the goal here is to set the trap and use it to eat a marshmallow without breaking any fingers. And something has to trigger that trap, and that's where the good old blowgun comes in. One of my favorite American values is that bigger is better. Are you ready?
Hey!